Alright, Akim. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and others great most known for teaching us his truth. And salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Requai. I'm back in here with another quick, and always, Lord's will, Yahweh Rataza. This may be an edifying lesson. And, for today's lesson, I just wanted to touch on a quick comment I came across by one of the prime ministers of one of the European countries. And the title I have on the screen, it says, "A Shameless Woman." So, first off, what does it mean to be shameless? Right? So, let's just get an idea of that. And Yahweh Rataza, as always, this lesson will be edifying. So let's go to, I think I want to start off by pulling up just bear with me on this. Just to go into the etymology, just bear with me. Okay, let's get the word shameless. Okay, so this is shameless in the etymology. It says, lacking a sense of decency, impudent, bold, immodest, free from disgrace, blameless, excusable, right? So somebody who has shame and possesses the following qualities: a painful feeling of guilt, disgrace, dishonor, insult, loss of esteem or reputation. It says it's to cover. So essentially, that's very interesting too. To cover, that is the vibration of this kingdom known as Babylon the Great that you read about in Revelation. So, as a matter of fact, let me touch on what he said, right? Because what he said is very, very interesting. Because when somebody is shameful, they are covered, right? Let's see. So this is the Olympic ceremony. So the Olympic ceremony shows there is no morality in the West. Hungarian premier. So he says Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has criticized the West following a controversial act during the Paris Olympics opening ceremony, saying there is no morality in the Western world. Westerners believe that nation states no longer exist. They deny there is a common culture and common morality based on it. There is no morality, he says. If you watched the Olympics opening yesterday, you saw this, Orban said in a speech in Tusvenios in Transylvania. The reenactment of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper was provoked a backlash, inviting criticism and denunciations of the Christian world. So he's calling out essentially the Western world for having essentially a deplorable standard of living, very low morals, very low vibration, and this is the kingdom that pushes this vibration of lack of decency, that shamelessness. For example, if you saw it, they promoted the Alphabet Gang, right? And these people they don't give an shit essentially. They show everything. And when it comes to, for example, like I know there is a term, like a crime known as public indecency. When the rules that they create they break these rules, because when it's them showing their indecency, they don't get charged for it. And then you have their genitals swinging in front of children and so on and so forth. Like, where is the shame? Where is the covering? Where is the modesty? There is no modesty in this society. So, before I ramble on too much, let's go to the scriptures. What do the scriptures say about this? Let's get Ecclesiasticus. Okay, so this is Sirach 42, or Ecclesiasticus 42 and 11. And it says this: keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter, lest she make thee a laughingstock in thine enemies. And it says, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make thee ashamed before the multitude. Right? So I wanted to read this precept to actually outline, the consequences of what happens. Like, for example, if you birth a child and you have a daughter, for example, you're supposed to keep a strong watch over her, right? Because you don't want her to essentially go playing the harlot, playing the whore, because when she does that, it makes your family reputation a complete laughingstock. She has not honored your name, your family name, your lineage, your line, your reputation, right? When you really think of it as well, that can also apply to the nation of Israel, because the nation of Israel went whoring after other gods, and the Lord took his name away from us as a people, right? And he kind of gave us that bill of divorce that it says in Jeremiah 3. But going back to the point, but I also wanted to read this precept to outline that America is in this very similar state, a state of being shameless, without lacking a covering. And I think recently they came out, and the Chinese, I believe it was the Chinese that said, I believe they were watching a political debate going on between Trump and Harris, and one of the things, they were actually laughing. So America is actually becoming that exact thing. They're becoming a laughingstock in the eyes of these other nations. For example, Russia, China, Iran, now this country, Hungary, and a lot of these other nations as well that belong to that those 10 horns you read about in Revelation. They also see America in that very similar fashion, in that very similar light, because they don't have they notice that their ally America has no decency at all, right? So let's go to Revelation. Okay, this is Revelation 17 verse 1, and it says, and there came out of the 7 angels which had 7 vials, which talked to me, saying, come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk of the wine of fornication. Right? So this is going into America being that great whore that essentially and pushes that wine, and the countries have essentially become drunk off of these particular philosophies that America pushes. For example, going back to the shameless daughter, right? America pushes that sexual liberation for women, right? There's no decency, there is no modesty when it comes to the vibration of women. I'm not really speaking about women on a micro scale, but it can also be applied to women on a micro scale, going back to the philosophies, because that is the vibration that is pushed here. I remember I was chopping it up with a brother, and there was a woman that came into the restaurant, and then there was a very strong contrast between, for example, the so-called the Israelite woman. She came into the restaurant and she had very little clothing on, like say for example, if you put on a shirt and your shirt kind of goes down to around like the 1/3 of your thigh, her dress didn't go very far down. She wasn't very covered up. Like a little breeze, you could see her whole panty line, right? That's the shame that that is being bred in this particular nation, trickling down first and foremost by these philosophies that I'm reading here, Revelation 17, right? Forgive the noise in the background if you don't mind. So this is the wine that a lot of these that this nation, America, pushes upon these other nations. Another example of that wine being pushed upon the other nations is the philosophies of the alphabet community. I have a friend of mine, he still lives in the islands, and he's starting to see the effects of this dangerous lifestyle, because you realize that men and women, men and men and women are not, they realize in that spirit that that's not the way. That doesn't bring forth life. This is a kingdom that doesn't bring forth essentially life. It promotes death, decay, rottenness, immorality, decadence. It doesn't promote actually family, structure, order. It's a place of disorder. It's a place of dysfunction. I'll read verse 2 again, and it says, the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and inhabitants of the earth have made drunk of the wine of fornication. So it goes going into those philosophies that these other kings, these other nations have taken on, right? They have to take on certain philosophies to actually, abide and to be in good league and good standing with America. Right, so going back to the feminism, the sexual liberation, free the nipple, all these different movements. A lot of these nations are now, like it says in Jeremiah, at Babylon, these nations are mad because of those particular philosophies, that wine. They're waking up. They're becoming more sober to realizing the madness that America has pushed, because they realize it contrasts a righteous way of living. It says in Proverbs that when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn, right? So this is a place and a society that's mourning because of the rulers and the inhabitants thereof, right? So let's go back to Ecclesiasticus. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach chapter 10 verse 1, and it says, a wise judge instructs his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As a judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such that dwell therein. Here's the point. Verse 3. An unwise king destroyeth his people. Right, so Esau is an example of an unwise king, right? He is a person that the soul, like it says in Habakkuk, the soul that is lifted up in this individual is not upright. It doesn't promote righteousness. It promotes death, right? It says in Revelation as well, he is that as death and hell has followed him, because anywhere he goes, when he goes to different places in the world, for example, I was looking it up. If you type it on Google, country Libya, and you type in before democracy or before 2011, like when Gaddafi was in power, versus when Gaddafi was assassinated, so after 2011, and you see the rottenness and the decay from that society as a whole. And you look up the things that Gaddafi wanted to do. It wanted to essentially create a prosperous nation, right? But when they got rid of the Gaddafi, and they called him and they accused him of being a dictator, a ruthless individual, that you saw the decay from that democracy, right? This is why countries like Libya, like when you read Ezekiel 38, they're going to join up with countries like Russia, right? Russia will be a guard unto countries like Libya, because they see the detrimental effects that America is pushing upon these other countries and pushing upon the world. I'll read verse 3 again, and it says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them the authority of the city shall be inhabited. Right, so let me get I guess I'll get one more. I think it's Leviticus 21. Okay, Leviticus 21 verse 9, it says, "And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father, and she shall be burnt with fire." So this is the judgment of a whore. And I brought this out as well because this is America's judgment as well. America shall be burned with fire, right? The 10 horns, they shall hate the whore, like it says in Revelation 17, right? And burn it with fire, right? And they're going to use their nuclear weapons. They're going to use their nuclear capabilities, because it also says in Joel, the weak proclaim ye upon the Gentiles, either the nations, like the weak say I'm strong, because now a lot of these smaller countries, like for example Pakistan, India, all these smaller countries, when America was kind of like America and Russia were kind of like those two countries that had nuclear capabilities, but now other countries like these smaller countries like Pakistan, they can essentially now kind of start to like flex their muscle. Like North Korea is another one as well. They can kind of start to flex their muscle, their nuclear muscle, because they realize that, okay, we have nuclear capabilities, right? And we're going to use this to enact our judgment upon America, right? The Lord's going to put that spirit. It says in Proverbs 21, as a matter of fact, let me get it. Quick precept. Proverbs 21 verse 1, and it says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will." So right, this is the Lord's will to put the spirit on these other nations to create and come up essentially against America, right? So anyways, I guess I'll leave it there. But I pray and sincerely hope that this lesson was edifying, and you can see the second layer for America being that shameless woman is in that spirit of a shameless woman, right? And you could see the spirit on the women in the West that it trickles down into, right? But also the men as well, because the men, especially the men in the alphabet lifestyle, they push that nakedness, right? And they don't push modesty and covering and understanding, right? So anyways, Lord's will as always, this lesson was edifying. I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.